Yay, we're working on block 1. I'm so excited to be at this point. So what we'll need is, if you have a diagram, if you're using the diagram, you want to pay attention to what color you're making your block 1. So mine is going to be a gray color with just a regular white lining fabric. You will also need like a little cord or a little rope or something for the gas station pump. You'll want to have your applique bag, and you'll want to have your cutout block and some scissors. You also will want to have some backing for the tool as well. So first things first, we need to cut out 1 fabric and 1 lining in this block shape. So to make it a little bit easier, we can lay out our fabric in such a way that these 2 fabrics are stacked on top of each other. So we still only have to cut 1 time, but we get both fabric layers. Okay, and if you have pattern weights, you can use them, but I'm just gonna cut this out. If you haven't already cut out your blocks. And you know, you can jump ahead and just cut out all of the blocks if you want to in the fabrics that they're going to be made out of. You don't have to wait for me and do this the way I'm doing this. I'm just using these as pattern weights. Okay, once we've done that, we can move right along. So we are going to be keeping this fabric block, the diagram, as a diagram of where to place our stuff, our applique pieces. So keep it close by. If you've used the fusible webbing, then we are going to be peeling off the backing of our webbing. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. So you should have an adhesive side that has not been glued down, and we can lay this down roughly in the same spot where it appears on the original pattern, and then peel off the backing for the gas. I've used my cutting machine to cut out a little piece of iron-on vinyl onto the gas pump for it to just say gas. Thought that might be cute. So feel free to embellish this more than what we have told you to do. So lay that out. And we can peel the backing off of the tools. These guys are teeny tiny, aren't they? So we want to grab our iron, and we want to grab a little piece of spare fabric or felt, you know, whatever it was that we used. And let's go fire up our iron and our pressing mat, because we will be needing that for this process as well. The tools are going to be double-sided, so I'm just going to show you how to assemble them. While I wait for my iron to heat up, we can go ahead and cut a 4-inch piece of cord for our gas pump. And you can burn the cord, or you can knot it on the one end so to prevent it from fraying. The nozzle end. I think I'm just going to knot it. But the raw edge here, we're going to want to stitch down. And we're going to just take a couple of straight stitches and just run over this a bunch of times. Before we do that though, my iron is heated up now. So because I have the fusible fabric on it, on the backing of the awning, I can just give it a good press so that it stays and attaches and glues to the fabric here. So you will want to linger over it, especially if you've used felt, just so that it attaches properly. There we go. Okay, and now go over to your sewing machine here and stitch over that. I'm not going to show that process because it's just a very simple straight stitch that you need to do. All right, so I've just taken a straight stitch and just stitched across this little rope cord for the gas pump, so you can see that there. Now my iron has heated up. We can go ahead and make these tools double-sided. So we're gonna take the tool pieces that we've done so far, and we're just going to press them down onto another piece of felt, attaching that applique or that felt adhesive in place. And then we're going to take some scissors and just cut out around these tools again so they're double-sided. And once you've done that, you can run a row of stitches right down the middle of the tools, which will hold the double-sided tools in place if, say, the applique failed or something, the adhesive failed. Okay, I know it's hard to see because I have a gray mat and these tools are gray. So just run a quick line of stitches down the middle of each tool. Once you have your tools together, peel the backing off of the toolbox and you're going to stitch around the words if you want to. This is another one I did iron on vinyl. Oh, I'm sorry, not the toolbox. Take the backing off of the pump and lay it over the rope or the cording that you used here. And if you are using iron on vinyl, just make sure there's a cloth between the iron and the vinyl itself. So that gas pump should be all glued down. And then if you want to, grab a scrap of your toolbox fabric and we're going to stitch around the toolbox. I'm sorry, grab a scrap of your toolbox fabric and we're gonna stitch just along the edge here to keep those tools in place on the backing fabric. So I'm going to do that right now. And you know, if you are doing the word tools, you'll want to stitch around that. So you can see I've just done a line of stitching here right across. Trim this little thread. Okay, and once I've done that, we want to we want to press the backing of the toolbox down onto the new felt scrap piece here. Just give that a good press. And once again, if you're using iron on vinyl, you want to prevent melting. So let's just stick a piece of cloth in between. Okay, and then cut out. I'm gonna grab some scissors and we're gonna just cut out around the toolbox, the second layer here. And then we will stitch this together around the outside edges and cut out this window. So I'm just gonna fold this in half to give it a good slice-a-roo. Kind of makes the toolbox a little more sturdy. That's the point. So now stitch all the way around the outside of the toolbox. I'm once again not going to show that, but you can do this yourself. Just a straight stitch all the way around. That's going to hold it all together. Okay. see I've made my little toolbox. And now place this down where we want it, and we're gonna stitch around on those stitches we just did to stitch this in place. That'll keep all of the edges down, but you wanna leave this part open for the tools. And depending on the age of the child you're making this for, you can choose to put the tools in the box and permanently sew them on. If you have a younger child you're making this for, if you have an older child you're making this for, then they probably don't need the tools to be stitched down. They can be loose in the box. Okay, so I've gone and stitched around the outside of the toolbox. So this is all fixed down, and then I put my tools in the box and I stitched over them to keep them in place because this is for a younger child. So I want to make sure that he stays safe. Okay? And once you've done that, you can take your whole block is done. If you want to stitch around the awning and around the gas pump to keep them in place, make them a little bit sturdier, you can do that as well. You could also do a traditional applique stitch, which is a zigzag stitch around the outside of things. But the next thing I'd say is just put your block 1 pieces together, the lining and the main, and set them off to the side. Congratulations, we've completed block 1. Okay, the next part is the mailbox. Yay! Let's get our mailbox piece, get our iron, get our other mailbox pieces here. Okay, so the mailbox can be open. This is block 2, by the way. I didn't say that, but this is block 2. We've just completed block 1. The mailbox can be opened and closed with a flag that moves up and down and the letters that go inside. So based on the age of your child, you will want to, make this accordingly if you want the letters to come fully out. So I've got a piece of the main fabric and a lining for this mail block, and I've got my little mailbox pieces here. Got a cute little letter too. Okay, so first things first, iron or glue the word mail onto the mailbox piece. I went ahead and made mine out of iron-on vinyl, so I already ironed it on, but you would take your little mail letters and you would stitch up and down them, and then you would want to take a coordinating piece of scrap felt, and you're going to stitch a flap, we're gonna glue and stitch a piece of the flap here, so it's double-sided. So take your backing off and just press that down onto the felt to secure it. Okay, then we're going to stitch it together around the outer curve, and we can do that with a machine or by hand. I'm going to do that now. I'm not going to show it to you because it's just a straight stitch and it's just going to go around. Okay, so you can see because I did my stitching in black. And then you're going to cut around it so it's double-sided. Cut it out, make it double-sided. Wonderful. And then we're going to do the same thing for the flag. So we're going to take the backing off the flag and stick it to a piece of scrap felt. And then we're going to stitch around the flag as well. Okay, so I've done my flag in black, so you can see that. And then you're gonna cut that out around it so that it's nice and double-sided. So we've got a cute little flag here. There we are. And now we need to stitch the flag by hand to the mailbox because we can't stitch it to the mailbox with the machine. So you can grab embroidery floss or just regular thread, and we're gonna stitch the flag to the mailbox. Okay, so I need to peel off my backing from the mailbox in order to do this, but I'm gonna stitch my flag here through the mailbox piece. making bad choices already. Let me fix them. But however, whatever method you want to use to stitch this mailbox on, you can, or the mailbox flag. So I'm just going to stitch through both pieces. And I want to make it so that the flag can wave or move up and down. So I want to secure it, but I don't want to secure it too tightly. So I'm just going to try to go through it like I would a buttonhole, just kind of back and forth with a tack. To secure it down, but allow it to still have movement. Okay, so yeah, so you should be able to manipulate it a little bit, or you can keep it up however you want and just tie it off. My flag may actually stay up a little bit. It's okay. Once you're happy with it though, we can going to need to put the mailbox piece on another scrap here. So we're gonna iron that down. And if you did use the iron-on lettering, then just make sure you have a pressing mat between your iron-on letters and your iron. Okay, so we attached that, and then we're going to cut around it so it's double-sided. Okay, so we're going to place the mailbox flap. Line things up. My mailbox is going the wrong direction. That's okay. It's just backwards, but that's quite all right. So the whole thing's gonna be like this when it's done. But we're gonna place the single layer mailbox flap onto the block, and then we're gonna iron or stitch that in place. So let's grab that. Here's our single flap. I'm gonna press this down, or I'm sorry, I'm gonna stitch this down. Okay, so got that in place. Okay, and then we also need to grab the mailbox post to place our mailbox on that. And we can stitch the mailbox post down. And you don't have to use contrasting thread, I just am. Okay. And we're gonna place our mailbox over top of that post, and we can stitch around this portion. I'll show you that. Okay, so we've got the mailbox stitched down, and then the double-sided flap goes over the double-sided flap. So stitch that down, and we're going to just stitch the bottom part down so that it can flap open here, and letters can slide in this little teeny tiny pocket. Okay, and now we can put our little mailbox, our letters in our mailbox. We can iron them down if you want to iron them in. You can also add some embroidery, a little postage stamp, you know, whatever you desire to make the letters look real. I am just going to iron mine down in place. And then we're done with the mailbox. We finished block 2.